And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the United States and internationally as the Money Lady. And for the last 38 years, I have been totally and completely and passionately committed to educating individuals and families in the area of finance, resources, business ownership, investments, insurance, banking, you name it. I've done it, and if I haven't done it, I certainly know some awesome experts who have. So in line with that commitment to continue to educate you so that you can make good, strong, sound financial decisions, because knowledge implemented, I said knowledge implemented is power. I have as my guest for the next hour, Adrienne Heard, and she's going to be talking about women in business, starting a business, and then we're going to do a second segment that you don't want to miss, which is the types of businesses and things that you need to be concerned about. Statistically, you may not be aware, but the fastest growing group of business owners today are women. Women are making some decisions to pursue their dreams, take the necessary risks, and get out here and make it happen, just like the men have for so many, many, many years. And again, without good, sound foundation and knowledge, you can make some very bad moves, because truth of the matter is that after the 5th year, the failure rate becomes extremely high. Let me correct that. It takes about 5 years, but the first 5 years, the failure rate can be very high. So you want to make sure you have good counsel. Let me give you a little bit of information about Adrienne Heard. She has a BA in Personnel Management from Michigan State University. She has an MBA in Management and Finance from the University of Dayton, Ohio, and is an Ohio Small Business Development Corp. CBA Certified Business Advisor designation from the University of Toledo. She has established a career in business administration with a number of Fortune 500 companies, as well as with not-for-profit and privately held firms. Her company was formed in 1993, so she does have longevity here. She's not just out here to provide these planning and staff development services on a consulting basis. She's a minority female-owned sole proprietor. Consulting firm specializing in management consulting services, which include business plans, strategic plans, action plans, management accounting, standard operating procedures, training and development, coaching, and problem solving. Her goal is, and she has a book to this, Quick and Smart Entrepreneur's Handbook, which is this book right here, which I love this book. This book has saved me. Okay, we'll talk about that. But she does have management tools to help businesses succeed. She is married, the mother of 2 sons, Kevin and Keith, and she's very active in her community as well as her church. She's also an Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority member of many years. For those of you that know about the world of sororities, it's a very fine organization. So without much further ado, I'm going to begin our show today talking about how to start a business. And we're going to be looking at the entrepreneur in general, the advantages and disadvantages, what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and how to get started. How are you, my friend?
I am fantastic.
I know, you look so great. I'm so glad to have you back on. It's been a bit.
Yes, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yes, it has been, but I continue to get your emails. Thank you so much.
You're very
welcome.
welcome.
So where do we want to begin? What is an entrepreneur?
Well, let's put up the slide about that gives a definition of entrepreneur. I think it's slide number 4.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the differences between an entrepreneur and an employee.
Okay, please do.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
First of all, an employee gets a paycheck.
Okay.
Every week or every 2 weeks, 15th and the 30th, whether you do a good job or not, you get a paycheck. And if you're salaried, you know how much it's going to be. If you're hourly, you know how much it's going to be. Mm-hmm. If you're an employee, You show up for work and everything you need is there. You're not responsible for making sure that the cabinet's full unless you're the order clerk. You show up, you get a paycheck. If you don't feel good, you call in sick. If you feel good but you want to go play golf, you call in sick. And you still get paid.
What? And you still get paid. What a life.
If you are an entrepreneur, your employees get paid before you get paid.
Absolutely.
If you're an entrepreneur, you may not get paid. And if you're an entrepreneur, even when you're sick, you have to show up.
Tell me about it.
Now, there are some advantages to being an entrepreneur. You're your own boss. Nobody tells you what to do. Disadvantage is that nobody tells you what to do. You have to figure it out.
You have to figure it out.
An
Yes.
advantage is that you can look at unexplored markets. You can do things that you think that's something that's needed. You can use your own creative talents to do what you want to do, to develop something that is unique. You can follow your passion. And the nice thing about being an entrepreneur is that you profit from your hard work, you profit from your ideas, and you profit. What you do belongs to you. But as you can see on the screen, a person who organizes and manages a business or industrial enterprise, one of the disadvantages of being an entrepreneur is that you take the risk of loss. Yeah, you get the profit when there is one, but if you work for somebody else and you make a mistake, you probably still have a job. You may not get a raise that year, or you may get written up. But if you are an entrepreneur and you make a mistake, your mistake impacts your business and your life. So you have to be willing to take risks.
Well, let's talk about that issue of risk. And as a business owner for 38 years now, I've had a number of companies sold, some of them I continue to run, and some of them I blew up and found myself blowing up with it. How does one determine whether they have a mindset for risk?
Well, could you live without getting a steady paycheck?
I have, but is that
Did it make you nervous?
Did it make you nervous? Yeah.
Was it okay?
For me, I will tell you in the early years, because 38 years ago, they didn't have people like you. They didn't. And if we wanted to do something that we were passionate about, we had to kind of get out here without a whole lot of infrastructure. And coming out of banking, I knew that you had to be capitalized properly.
Yes. You're a step ahead of most people who go into business.
Yeah.
They think the bank's going to give them money. No. The bank is not the banks are in business to make money. See that word risk? The banks don't invest in risky businesses. And a startup is a risky business. So you understand the need for capitalization. People who want to go into business, you need to be prepared to put something on the table. You need to be prepared to put something at risk. You need to be properly capitalized.
Yeah.
That means money.
Money, yeah. That's what capitalization means, viewers, money. Where does the money come from?
Well, if you're starting off, it comes from the 3 F's.
Okay.
Friends, family, and fools.
Say that again.
Friends, family, and fools.
And fools.
Are the people who invest in startups. You will have your life savings. You will use a second mortgage on your house. Don't do that unless you know you have a way to pay for it in case the business doesn't make it. Because if the business doesn't make it and you've done a second mortgage, you'll be homeless and bankrupt. But you need to have people who are willing to support you and your dream and you need to be willing to support you in your dream.
Right.
There are angel investors, but angel investors usually invest in something that they have a passion for. There are other investors who invest in businesses that look like they're going to have a huge return. Like if I put $1 million in, will I get $5 million back in 5 years?
Right.
Unless you're a technology company, most companies aren't going to have that type of a return.
That's true.
And so you, in all probability, will start your business with the resources you can come up with personally from your own savings. I had one person who, we had a plan A and a plan B. She figured out how much she needed to capitalize her business.
Right.
Plan A was to go to the bank. I said, you need a plan B.
Yes, you do.
So her plan B was, we figured out how much she would need to get to open her doors and stay in business for at least 6 months.
Okay.
And she was a college professor. She took on additional classes.
Okay, to make additional money.
For 1 semester. And she said if every dime she made, she put aside, plus what she was already putting aside, she'd get there. That was her plan B, and it worked.
But she was, but it's fair to say that she had to have had a serious commitment to the success of her company.
A passion.
Right.
A passion.
For her to be willing to forward plan.
Right.
In that manner.
You have to plan to succeed. There's a saying that says if you don't plan, then you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't plan.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
So you have to have a vision. You have to know where you want to be. And sometimes when we're saying how to start a business, sometimes it's just as important to know where you want to be and where you don't want to be, and helping you to decide what business you want to start.
Okay.
Some of the personal factors that you have to consider. Look at income. You need to look at both your business and your personal financial needs.
Okay.
You need to look at the hours. Startups take a lot of time. They really do.
Well, I attribute it to like having a baby.
Yes.
For women, since we're talking about this.
Exactly. Remember those first 5 years with that kid?
God.
Oh.
Oh my God. You thought you were going to kill the baby or kill yourself. It's very intense, very, very intense, and time consuming.
Like having a baby, you have to think of your support level. Am I a single parent?
Right.
Or what do I have access to that can help me with this business? And as you said, it's so much easier now because 38 years ago, no one knew how to help you start a business.
No, they didn't.
Because the goal 30 years ago was to get a job and keep it for life.
Right. Haven't times changed?
Yes.
Haven't times changed?
So find out who can help you, and then you need to understand that this business takes a commitment. Are you prepared to sacrifice in order to gain the rewards later? Let's talk about when you first started. What did you sacrifice?
I truly sacrificed while everybody else was enjoying their lives on a regular 9 to 5. I worked 14 hours a day for years.
But you worked for yourself.
But it was it was okay because that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. And my children were a part of my business. They were young, but you couldn't get babysitters back then to watch your children while you did this. So my children actually became a part of my vision, and they were involved as young people. They were involved in different social things. When I had dinner meetings or conferences, my children were greeters. They learned how to actually underwrite. They actually learned how to do this as little people. But I look back at that whole period, and there's some things I'm proud about, and then there's some things I'm not so proud about. And one of them is that most people are not aware of the amount of time and financial resources you're going to spend making this passion profitable. Because, and you can talk about that, your passion had better make money.
One of the things that I think I sent it out this week, I sent out a weekly little comment. It says that you select your business, the one that you enjoy doing it so much that you would be willing to do it for free,
right.
but you can get paid for
Right.
it. Because you don't want your business to be profitable by you giving away your time.
Exactly.
But you don't want to not enjoy what you do.
Right.
But I want to get back to a point that you made about your children are part of your vision.
Right.
Remember I said it's very important to know what you want and what you don't want. Before you even select your business, select your vision of what you want the future to look like. Because if you don't know what you want the future to look like, you may leave out some integral parts
Yes.
of your future.
Yes.
So from the beginning, you knew you wanted your children to be in that vision. So you
Right.
structured the way your business ran
Right.
to include your children.
And actually, Adrienne, in all honesty, I didn't have a lot of options because at that time I was a divorcee, which is a single mother. And again, back then, that's 38 years ago, people did not know how to work with that. They
Yeah.
really didn't know what is she doing this? Because I was in investments and banking and insurance. What is she doing this and what are these children around for? Because again, back then the assumption was that a woman was supposed to be married.
Yep.
Yep.
You went to school to get your MRS degree.
Right. And so where does she fit in? And then she doesn't fit in. And so how does that work? And as I said, the one aspect, if I can be totally transparent, and that's also to you viewers as well, a woman in business has worked very hard to become successful, and she has sacrificed herself. Because the other aspect is that the dating scene changes. Oh yeah, because men then were not comfortable with a female that was running her own ship. They didn't know how to quite fit that in, you know? Where does she fit in? And so you wound up being by yourself a lot. And alone does not mean lonely, because I wasn't.
No.
But I was alone, and my children became my partners. I just enjoyed them and allowed them to enjoy the ride. But their conversations as adults now, because one of my children is an entrepreneur. She's in Las Vegas, and she's working it, the firstborn. The secondborn is corporate. He said he doesn't like that kind of risk, so he got his business administration degrees in corporate, doing great. He knows the principles, but he said, Mom, I'm not willing to give up my life for a passion. So I'm not willing to do that. I'm going to do a check.
But he knows it.
And thank God he does. Thank God he does.
I can give you another clue as to whether or not you can be an entrepreneur. How do you wake up in the morning? Do you need the alarm to wake you up? And when the alarm goes off, do you hit it because you want 15 more minutes?
Okay, got it.
You're not an entrepreneur.
I know.
You're not an entrepreneur. Don't do it. An entrepreneur gets up and they hit the ground running. Yes, they may need a cup of coffee, but they don't get up by an alarm. They're self-motivated. They get started on their own.
They do.
Self-motivated, get started on their own.
And there's not a day I'm usually up. Truthfully, I've been up at about 4 o'clock every morning for 25 years. I'm up at 4. I start my day off with my prayers, read the Bible, go to my computer, look at my day, organize my day, and that's my day. Start working out. I put in an hour exercise to get my adrenaline going, and then I'm out the door like a bat. Whoosh! The thought of not being healthy and not being excited is just foreign to me. I mean, why would I call off sick? I mean, it's my stuff.
Exactly.
If I don't run it, it's not going to happen.
I tried calling in sick one day, but I told myself I had to come in anyway.
I know that. You can't tell yourself you had to come in anyway.
But let's talk about,
Okay.
should you start a business? Answer some questions. You need to identify your skills. What can you do? What do you like to do? You need to know why you want to start the business. And you need to know if you're willing to take risk. Now, I'm not talking about stupid risk. I'm talking about risk for the business to go forward.
Right.
I talk about debt when you're going into business.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two types of debt in the world. One is personal debt and one is business debt. Personal
not
debt.
The same. Right.
Personal debt is when you spend money that you don't have to buy things that you don't need to impress people that you don't like.
Sounds like America.
Business debt is when you spend money that you don't have to buy things that you need to make more money. And we need to be clear on that distinction, because when you're starting a business, you need to be prepared to spend your money that the business brings in on getting more business. Don't start your business thinking that the day after I started, I'm going to go out and buy a new wardrobe.
No.
Or that I'm going to have all leather furniture in this beautiful office, because who you're trying to impress.
Right.
So let's talk about a business. We've talked about the risk of failure, because that's the number one reason businesses fail: management. So should you start a business? Some of your major pitfalls in managing this and being an entrepreneur: lack of experience.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to be a plumber. I'm a really good plumber, but I don't know anything about being a plumbing business.
Right.
So, or lack of money. I'm a plumber working for a plumbing business, and they provide me all of the tools and stuff I need, and they provide me all of the materials and all of the paperwork. Wrong location. I'm going to open up a company selling ice in Alaska.
Right.
Inventory management. I like purple, so I'm buying all purple for my store and wondering why it doesn't sell. Somebody came in and wanted pink.
Right.
I sell purple because that's what I like.
Can we talk about that? Because one of the things that I shared, and I talked to a woman last night that is involved in environmental sustainability projects, big in corporate America today and in business. And she's top of the line, but she's not learned, and she's not been in business long enough to master this, but I did tell her last night quite late, you're going to have to master this. And she said, well, one of the people that she needs to help her, she doesn't care for. And I told her, so?
Does she have the skills that are needed for the position?
The person has the skills. The person is going to be, would be her go-to person. And I said to her, she says, and in fact, I brought the woman's name up. I said, have you talked to such and such? And she said, oh, you know her? I said, oh, I know a ton of people, but have you talked to her? And she basically said to me, well, I don't like her. And I said, halt, next, stop.
If you're going to be in a business, you need to assess yourself, because one of your strengths is being able to get along with a variety of
people,
personalities, behaviors, your job focus. You're focused on getting something done. She doesn't have to go out to dinner with her.
I told her, and she said, Miss Graves, you know, you are just so matter of fact. I said, the business world is matter of fact. I said, people that cannot help you to reach your profitability goals,
yes,
are people that you can be friends with on a personal side, but they have no place in business.
No, that's why I say don't hire a family unless you've got a job that they can do.
And do well.
And do well.
Because it's going to be a problem.
Oh, I hired them because they needed a job. Well, did you have a job that needed doing, and could they do it?
Right.
Business. And we'll talk about that in our later session when we talk about the different types, ways to get into business.
Right.
But let's talk about the risk, and moreover, how you can lower your risk. We said poor credit practices, you know, that personal debt, the taking too much on for yourself. If you can't do it all, admit that you can't do it all. Hire that person.
Right.
Be prepared to pay for that person.
And that's just it. I think it was John Maxwell that said years and years and years ago that don't major on minors. If you're extremely good at sales, but you hate bookkeeping, don't become a bookkeeper.
Nope.
If you and I'm candid with you, I hate bookkeeping. I'm a saleswoman, I'm out here. But I have a phenomenal woman that does bookkeeping. And yes, I have to pay her, and yes, I should.
There are three main parts to business, and everything falls into it. One is production, that's making the product or the service.
Right.
The second part is promotion. That's marketing. That's letting everybody know about it and getting them to come. And the third part is paperwork.
Oh my God, but that paperwork will put you out of business.
Truly. And of those three parts, when you're an entrepreneur getting started, you probably have to do all three. But you're either not good at all three, or you don't like to do all three. Or you don't have time to do all three.
Right.
And if you don't have time to do all three, the one that you like the least or that you're the least good at is probably the one that won't get done. Any one of those three will sink you if it's not done. Usually the one that's not done is paperwork.
Yes.
Because I went into business to do stuff.
Right.
But if you don't understand the paperwork and make sure that it's done, well, how many athletes have we seen that go broke?
Well, and
how many
entertainers
people
as
in
well.
entertainment?
Yeah, same thing.
Because they didn't understand and follow the paperwork.
Right.
Not
right.
do it, but understand it enough to see if it was being done right.
Right.
So those are some of the skills that you have to develop, the skills that you need. You can lower your risk because you can get experience. If you think this is something you want to do, try it out. Plan. Get your family support. Get your friends support. And that's just not monetary support. You need someone who understands business.
Yes.
And understands sacrifice and doesn't make you feel bad when there's something that you can't do that they want done. Somebody who will pick the kids up because you have a meeting to go to.
Right, right.
My husband was a very good support for me because I started my business and I'm in a man's world basically. They don't expect women to know about business.
Right, they do not.
And when it came to networking, where men network real well, especially on the golf course and after hours, my husband, who knows absolutely nothing about what I do, he could talk the talk.
Yes.
And we'd go to a networking event. I point out to him the person that I needed to talk to because this is the person who I knew by my research needed my services. My husband would go over, talk the talk, get an appointment, and then he'd call the person and says, oh, I'm going to send Adrienne in because she actually, that's the area that I assigned her to do.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
I know it did.
And I wasn't ashamed to do it.
I know that.
Pride.
Forget it.
And bills.
Right.
Pride.
and
bills.
Right.
So.
But you know what, and I only say this because on that subject, and I don't want to get off path here, but it is absolutely imperative that women in the world of business do recognize that it's not an even playing field.
Nope.
It's still a man's world. I even as we look at the real possibility of a female president, it's still very much in the world of private sector, a man's world. They go to the bathroom together, they play golf, and they look at sports while you cook chicken. And those roles are hard to break. They are, and I'll just say for myself, because I am a single woman, and when I'm in the business world and networking every day, I run into that. And when women say, oh, those days are over, I'm like, you haven't played ball long enough. You couldn't be saying that. You have not played ball long enough to understand that there is a difference, and this is why women must support each other.
Yes.
Men do it intuitively. They play sports, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, all those contact sports. They played these, they know how they work, and we're new kids on the block.
But the difference is one of the strengths that women have over men, men understand teams.
Yes.
Women understand diversity.
And I love it.
The reason women understand diversity is that we may have 4 kids and each one is different.
And they are.
Each one brings different skills to the table, and we as mothers and aunts and next door neighbors who help out, Girl Scout troopmen, we understand that 4 different people can have 4 different strengths, and we are able to identify those strengths and channel them and how to use them. Women understand diversity and use it well. We have challenges in teaching the rest of the world that we know things they don't. And the reason we know things they don't is because we've been forced to, in our groups, see, okay, we're going to have to get this done. Who among us can do this? You're good at that? Okay, you can do it. Because we're used to getting things done on limited funds.
Right, we are. We are absolutely. But you know, there was a fascinating book that I just got into dealing with the issue of the new paradigm in business and why women are going. It's written by a man, a consultant, and he talks about most men are left brain, which is they're task oriented. And as we move into this new world, it's about creativity, collaboration, spontaneity, embracing diversity rather than pushing it away.
The new order of things to be successful, you look at a spider's web, all the interconnectedness.
Right, right.
And men were always used to the hierarchy. Step it up, step it up, step it up. Keep everything in silos because you move ahead. Knowledge is power, so you don't share it.
Right.
The new world, we don't have the time to move ahead in silos. We need to share information so everybody can move ahead.
Well, that's what I like about it.
And women understand that.
Yes, we do.
Women understand that.
But that's why I like the gentleman that's the CEO of Tesla.
Okay.
And you know, his whole thing is all of that R&D they put into making these phenomenal electric cars. Have you seen a Tesla?
Yes.
Oh my God, gotta have it. Anyway.
Personal debt.
Gonna figure out how to write this off in my business. But he talked about openness and sharing the technology. And I will tell you this because when I lived in China, this is one of the things I learned 12 years ago. The reason the Chinese do not respect patents in the United States is their whole position is, you don't know anything more than I currently know or will know. That's how they look at it, which is you can't, how can you say that's mine when it's evolutionary? So you don't want me to benefit from what you got to first? Well, no, because it's mine. It's not yours because creativity says it would invariably become mine and everybody else's eventually.
And eventually is now.
And eventually is now. Isn't that something? I think it is.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about making sure that you're prepared to go into business. We talked about you need to be a self-starter.
Right.
You need to get along well with different personalities. You need to be good at making decisions.
Okay.
Because sometimes the wrong decision is better than no decision because you can go back and correct it. So you need to be good at making decisions. You need to have good physical and emotional health.
Thank you.
Because you're working, what, 14-hour days?
If
you're starting off, and when I started my business, I had a full-time job where I was putting in 40 to 50 hours a week.
Oh my gosh.
50 hours a week minimum. And I started my job, and I started my business and kept my job simultaneously for 6 months.
So that you would have a foundation.
Right. So that
That's smart.
Because I knew that what I was doing, I wasn't going to get a bank loan, and I had a commitment that I had to pay my share of the personal bills out of the proceeds from my business. So I had to put enough aside to carry
forward. And don't you think
forward.
on that subject, when you talk about your contribution to family, for married women, that's important. If your husband has expectations for you to be a contributor.
Yeah, we're definitely a 2-income family.
Right. So if you make a decision, those of you that are watching, to go off and do your passion without support and engagement by your spouse, can't that have a very negative outcome?
Yes.
I would think so.
So you need to talk it over. Make sure they see how passionate you are. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say anything else. But you can convince them to come along. You really can. Because normally in a good marriage, they want you to succeed.
I know they do. Mm-hmm.
So
I know they do. I know they do.
So you do have to think about, though, the effect on your family, because it's just one of the things you have to think about. You have to set some personal goals for financial, family and friends, social and community. If you're starting a business, this is not the time to chair 3 different boards. Not saying that your skills aren't needed in the community, but get your business level, okay? Think about your health and fitness goals, and think about your personal development, because we already know that you don't know how to do everything that's necessary to be an entrepreneur. So look around, see what classes there are that you can take. Get experience, plan, enlist your family support, be prepared to be tired and discouraged.
A lot.
This too shall pass.
It will pass.
Plan for it.
Right.
Plan for it. That's just like sometimes we say you need to make 10 calls to get one. Well, if the very first person that you call says yes, get excited.
Yes.
But know that means you're going to have to make 19 calls before you get another one.
Exactly.
Or you may need to make 19 calls.
Right.
So don't just get discouraged when your first person said yes and the next 9, 10, 12 say no. Be prepared to be discouraged, because you know out of 20 you're going to get 2.
You know, and that is a part of, again, business, which is that you have to plan, and you not only have to plan, but you have to be prepared to use that phone, use social media. And when I talk about social media viewers, I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other venues that will allow your personality to get out there. Because we're living in a time where people want to know a little bit more about you and your business. To say that you have a business and they don't know anything about you. The millennials especially. Millennials are so personality driven that and I mean, I've gotten business off of Facebook. I'm not gonna lie about it, because they have felt that I represented a person of integrity, and therefore, because of the longevity, they had trust. And that's different, because you know that's not how we did it. No.
Now, the final part that I want to talk about here is, how do you select the business? How do you, what do you do?
Okay.
And not the business itself, but your industry. Am I prepared to go forward? I want you to think about it. There are like 7 different areas you can look at.
Okay.
When you're trying to come up with this vision, this business vision. The first one is that you can continue your current career, but do it for yourself. And that's what I did.
Okay. What does that mean?
I worked for Fortune 500 companies, and I used to have to go around the country solving business problems.
Okay.
Management, I'm the paperwork. I used to have to go around the country solving paperwork, business administration problems for their facilities around the country. But then I had 2 young kids. I carried their picture with me when I flew. I knew I was in the wrong industry when I had to go to a little facility outside of Savannah, Georgia. Savannah's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
The little facility that was outside of Savannah, maybe about an hour's drive, they sent a white male engineer with me who knew nothing about the processes and procedures, but who I was supposed to give my questions to, and he would go out in the plant and ask the questions and then bring the answers back to me.
Really now, Adrienne?
Yeah. Now this was, remember, I started my business in '93.
I know, we're back,
but
back in the
I
day.
had taken out my little book that says, Dress for Success, and I was
Yes,
studying.
you were,
I
yes.
was studying it to see what colors and what I should wear in the South.
Right.
And they told me, it doesn't matter, you're a black female.
I know.
Nobody's going to give you the respect that you need to get done what we need to do. And I says, and you know this about your facility. Yeah, it's just
Just
a
the
fact.
way it is. Just the way it is.
And I said, oh, I don't know if I could do this. And as my children got older, it's harder to find daycare,
Yes.
especially when they get to be, what, 12 or 13?
Oh no. You gotta be
And my
watching them.
children weren't old enough to stay home alone. Another topic, another day. So I said, okay, I work for large companies going around the nation solving business administration and management problems. Why not do what I do, but find small companies in Ohio who can't afford to have a problem shooter on the payroll and don't need a problem shooter on the payroll 52 weeks a year.
Correct.
So I started my business by continuing to do what I did, only doing it for myself and by myself.
But that was very forward thinking, because again, you knew the problem.
Right.
And you knew it was just a matter of identification of the problem and then defining your geographic
Right.
restrictions.
So it was just the same tools. Small businesses have the same problems that big businesses have, just not as many zeros behind the commas.
Right.
Not as many employees. We have business, and you have the same problems, the same tools I can apply. The second thing is you may have a hobby that you could turn into a moneymaker. And if it's a hobby or an activity that you truly enjoy, that you have a passion for,
Right.
figure out who's willing to pay for it. But no, you have to be able to do it well. And if it's something that takes certifications, go out and get them. The Certified Business Advisor certification that I have, it just proves that I know what I know.
Yeah.
I already knew it.
Yeah, right.
But it proves that I know what I know.
Right.
And then I take courses every year to maintain it. And sometimes I teach the courses. Make sure that you are prepared. The other thing you could do is you could sell professional expertise to others who need it. You said you don't like doing paperwork.
Hate it.
Do you have an accounting firm or do you have an accounting person?
I have the CEO of an accounting firm
Okay.
who has handled my bookkeeping through her people
Okay.
and
Her.
her people for about a decade.
Okay.
And I'm very pleased with her and co-partner with her on a lot of things to make sure that she is successful, because marketing can be expensive, so you count on referrals, and it's worked out. But again, Adrienne, I am not going to lie, I made a ton of mistakes. And I mean, that's why I tell folks I'm a very humble person, because business will put you in a place of great humility.
But you learn from, have you ever made the same mistake twice?
No,
Okay.
no, because it's
The
too
difference
much.
between an entrepreneur and an employee is entrepreneurs don't make the same mistake twice.
Too costly, too painful. And I will also like to just put in this kind of a quirky add-on, but we must keep our personal life in perspective. And I challenge women that are watching here. Your staff does not want to know about your problems with your mate. Okay?
They think less of you.
They will think less of you, and your mate, whether you like it or not, should not have carte blanche privileges into your establishment, because it creates problems with the environment in your workplace. Your employees are watching you carefully, and as the leader of that ship, you have to be on point. They're going to watch how your business etiquette, your social etiquette, how you do what you do. They are watching you. And truthfully, I will say, to my credit, I owned a mortgage bank for many, many years, large company, and some of my employees decided they wanted to do it themselves and compete. And I didn't care, because I told them, if you're prepared to work like a dog and see all your money go to pay your salespeople and your loan originators and underwriters, if you're prepared to do that, then you get on out here. And do you know that the majority of those guys that left came back?
They understood one part of that three-pronged stool.
Right.
They understood promotion or production or paperwork. They didn't understand all that was involved and that the three worked together.
And they just
Because
couldn't
when
take
you're
it.
good, you make it look easy.
Well, that's what I've oftentimes heard. The mark of a true professional is doing something that's incredibly difficult and making it look simple. And that is the mark.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make it look simple, but just because it looks simple, as you know, does not mean it's simple.
But now let's go back to the 7 places to get ideas. We talked about do your career for yourself, turn a hobby or leisure activity into business, self-professional expertise, check and see what equipment you have. You know, my son started a lawn mowing service because his dad had a riding lawnmower and he said if he paid for the gas, could he use it? And he made money on it.
He did?
Yes. He called it Big Boy and Company.
Big Boy.
He had employees.
Ah.
He had employees.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because he rode the lawnmower and they did the edging.
All the edging and the trimming and work.
Use
Why
equipment
not?
that you already own or provide services to individuals and businesses. You can take classes or you can work at a new job to learn about a new field that you think you're interested in. Had a client who was interested in starting a dry cleaning business.
Ooh-wee. Okay.
A wife, a
Okay.
husband and wife.
Okay.
The wife actually got employed at a dry cleaning business, a laundromat and cleaning business that she liked the way they ran. She worked for them for 6 months
to figure it out, to get the kinks
and see what worked right before they went out and started their own, and now they own a chain.
Oh, that's
But they
phenomenal.
thought it would be something interesting, but she says, well, we need to work in it and see if it's something we could really do.
And make money. And
And
that's,
then
as a
finally-
side, before I interrupt, and I don't mean to interrupt you like that, but it is very, very important. And I think it needs to be said when we're talking about women starting their businesses, running successful businesses, that, hello, you got to make money.
Yeah.
Okay? Not a nasty word. Not a cat fight up in here. At the end of the day, you had better be making some money. And I'm talking about after expenses and employees, your bottom line had better show that your entity is profitable. Or else, be prepared to fold up the towel, break down the tent, and get a job.
If
Am
your
I right or
if your
not?
business cannot return to you after maybe 3 years,
Right, I'm going to say 3 years.
if it cannot pay you as much as you would earn working for somebody else, then go work for somebody else.
And I'm okay
Do
with
not
that.
make your business profitable by donating your time, and that's what I was. Says, well, I'm just giving my time. Time is money.
Time is actually
Time is money.
more expensive than money because time once gone, it's
Right.
gone.
So be prepared to make sure that you're going into a business that will provide a return for you. And the additional return, remember I say banks are in the business of making money so they don't take risk.
Right.
You should be paid for the risk that you're taking.
And
As an
this-
entrepreneur, you should be
absolutely.
paid for the risk. And then the final 7th way to explore for business ideas is to develop a new product or an improvement to an existing one. But keeping in mind where they say build a better mousetrap and they will come,
Not.
no, you also have to promote it. Make sure that somebody actually out there wants it.
Right.
Production is probably, if you're building a business from ground up and you're going to get into manufacturing, that's probably the most expensive field to enter.
Yes, it is.
Yes, you-
And yes, I know. Yes,
So
oh my God.
be prepared to start a business. Final slide I want to show you is because you can get help. Help is out there. Help exists. Help. Help. You can go to the library to do research. SBA.gov is a website. The Small Business Administration has all kinds of stuff. Now, it's not the easiest to navigate because it is a government website, and so we pay a small fortune to keep it updated and change every year. SBA.gov, you can take classes online for no cost.
Right.
You can find all kinds of information. You can go to small business development centers. You can go to SCORE. Both of these are paid for with your government, with your tax dollars. You can find one in your location by going to SBA.gov, and they say something about find help, and you put in your zip code. The internet is a good source.
Yes.
But when you go to the internet, be careful. Don't send anybody money for anything.
No.
Maybe if it's on Amazon, which is, if you're at somebody's individual website,
I'd
don't.
be careful. And don't forget to tell them about,
Oh, wait a minute.
please, please.
And this is on Amazon.
Please tell them about
Yeah.
your book.
It's called The Quick and Smart Entrepreneur's Handbook. And it's written because I assume that you don't have time to read heavy books. So the way that it's put, boy, and she has written.
I told you, I read this book
For example, it
all
has
the
10
time.
ways
It's falling apart.
to improve cash flow. But it tells the biggest challenge is that you don't know what you don't know. So I cover different challenges and give you some clues and give you some hints. And if this is a challenge you really didn't know about, then I also have references that you can go to find out more information
right.
about that challenge.
No, I endorse this particular book 1,000%. And yes, it's fallen apart because I read it. Like, for example, you have here, this is intuitive. Making a phone call, plan what you want to say before you make the phone call. Duh.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're about finished with this section, but we do hope that you'll come back because we're going to go on to part 2.
That'll air in another week. These shows air typically throughout the United States. So this particular How to Start a Business Part 1 with Adrienne Heard will be airing for a full week throughout the United States in varying markets. And then the second show will air in that following week. And that will be dealing with How to Start a Business Part 2, Making the Right Choice. And you want to stay tuned for that one because it's not just a business, but the right kind of business. And mind you, I have nothing against women selling jewelry, selling cosmetics, etc. But please understand that that is a type of business where you are basically a sales representative. You're not dealing with all the hardcore management issues that the managers of those companies, manufacturing companies, are grappling with every single day. And I only say that because I am the CEO of a manufacturing company that provides a very specific niche product into the hospital and healthcare industry. And I tell you, if you had to do both, manufacturing or distribution, distribution is easier. It just is easier. So I invite you to pass this information on, let your friends and family and others know about the broadcast you've just been a part of with Adrienne Heard. And please, if you're thinking about business and on being an entrepreneur, you got all my support in the world. I think it's the only way to go. It's the only way I know. I've worked for corporate and in the early years of my life, and I actually thought I was smarter than them. That remains to be seen over the long term, but at that time I felt that I was smarter than them. I could do this as well. So I am a real strong proponent of women being in business. But again, as I share with everyone, make financial decisions equipped and empowered with information and with knowledge, and then proceed forward with the necessary tools so that you can at least get out the gate, because it's going to be a run. And it's going to cost you just about everything. But in the end, you can say, I'm at peace with myself and I'm at peace with God. So on today's segment of The Power of Money, I'm your host, Michelle Graves, as always, wishing you an amazing day, and God bless you. See you next time.
Okay, recording stopped.
Okay, we're gonna change and we'll be right back.